What is up, and welcome back to Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. On this special day, as always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Been killing it with the March Madness content, but the NBA regular season is coming to an end. We got to talk about that. So I had to bring back on my dog, former Indiana Pacer, David Harrison. David, what's up, man?
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Real excited to be able to talk, with you about, all this stuff that's been going down, since the last time we were in.
Yeah, this one came together quick, and I'm excited because it was on my mind. You must have been reading my mind or something, because now we are ready to roll. So yeah, end of the regular season today. Got a lot of great games. We're gonna just go through and look at team by team what you can expect from the playoff teams and the play-in teams, the postseason teams, I guess you say.
Yeah.
Since we don't know exactly what the play-in and playoff picture looks like in the West, but we have to start with the Los Angeles Lakers because that's the last NBA thing we talked about was the trade deadline. Luka trade. Let's see. We looked it up. They were 5th before the Luka trade. Now they are locked into the 3rd seed. Yep. Locked into the third seed. Best season since winning the title in 2020. Obviously, let's go ahead and evaluate. What do you think? How do you think the Luka trade has paid off for them in contributing to this rise to the 3rd seed?
Oh, I mean, twofold, though. The trade going through is huge, but I would say the Connect trade not going through was big, too. Connect, I think I said it on that call. I was like, like we're talking, they just traded Connect. And I was like, why would you do that? When you look at his role out there, he could fill a role, play some D, just be a body, or the dude can score 30 in stretches. So, he was like that perfect little filler there to make that gel kind of happen. It happened quickly. When Luka got there, he was still injured and came out. That game with the Mavericks there, I think that was the spark for him to see, I'm not a Maverick anymore. This is different. And I think the game with the Mavericks, that last game he had there, that gave me goosebumps. You're looking at the crowd, the team, it's a close game. Luka hits a bomb. The home crowd, Luka's on the away team. The home crowd's cheering like it's their players still. That type of love. That's what the NBA is about. Like all the negativity that's come from it, you still see the love. But I mean, you gotta look at the counterparty. You got one good game out of AD, and then you went from what were they? They were like 3rd or 4th at that time. And now, they're win or go home tonight. And honestly, they're probably going to want to go home. They don't want to. You go to the playoffs, you're one of a few teams. Now your story is going to be featured. Hey, you guys were, now it's just going to be a backstory for a while. Nico can maybe hide. but
once again, not related to David Harrison. Nico Harrison, David Harrison, no relation.
But it's just like you have the you just have the combination of arguably the greatest player in the game. And you have arguably the greatest young player in the game, and they're on the team, and they've been playing well together. You see sometimes where you see who's doing, but that's you gotta expect that. They're just doing so well. They went from, in my opinion, play-in, maybe a second round appearance to, it's the wild, wild west. They could be in the finals.
And the first episode you came on, we talked about big men. And that was the Connect trade was going to be for Mark Williams, a big man. They did not get a big man. How concerned are you about that?
Well, that's another thing in the West. OKC, they got size. Joker, Mini has size. Every team with size, it's going to be an issue. But their bigs are kind of playing it's kind of funny. Luka kind of brought what the bigs were doing in Denver and Dallas to this system. He doesn't have to initiate his own shot. It's a lob. It's a that. So you're there to guard the paint, get rebounds, set screens. If you don't have that skill set at 7 feet, you shouldn't be in the NBA,
Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah, so like any big around someone like that would be good. If you had a big like the kid that they were trying to get, he would be a better, just he's an all around better player in my opinion. But at the same time, they're able to get more out of quote unquote lesser players in that position with the double team always coming to them, and just the way they see the floor, and just they're just those two players are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I do think the return to Dallas was like a really cathartic thing for Luka because he'd been a little inconsistent. He had picked it up as of late, but then that game, getting the emotions out, dropping 45, then he had to follow that up with another great game against the Rockets. I think that's probably going to carry over into the playoffs where we've seen him be
Luka.
Yeah. Like the final series last year wasn't his best performance, obviously, but I mean,
it was his first.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. People forget he's young. He's 25, turning 26.
Yeah.
I mean, he's young. But he's just been so good for so long. It's just people are just expecting him to be, like, I mean, what did it take Jordan? Well, I forget. Season 6, season 7.
I think season 7. I think 91. I think was his first.
You know what I mean?
Title.
So Jordan's like 27, 28 when he gets his first one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just like when you look at it, his trajectory is up. I think being around LeBron will put him in a better conditioning situation because where Luka was, if Luka didn't want to work out, he didn't have to. Now you're with LeBron. It's kind of similar to what we're saying with Kuzma going to the Bucks. He hasn't sucked as much as he did on the Bucks, and the Wizards. Like when you're around that vet system, especially being those younger players, they're able to you're just able to get more wisdom, and then drive it. Luka's body, I don't feel like I need to do this. I just feel like I need to do this. When you look at LeBron, year 40, he can be like, I might need to be doing this. I might need to be doing that. And I think it's going to be beneficial for Luka, substantially beneficial for Luka to play with LeBron and vice versa. LeBron looked like at the beginning of the season, he looked energized. And then I think all that talk about Bronny kind of got him out of the zone. And after that Luka trade, he came back out there just looking like Steph a bit. You know what I mean? Like throwing up threes and but yeah, no, it's the Lakers are scary. Before the season, you'd say, yeah, they got LeBron, they're going to do something. But now they got Luka and LeBron, they might win this,
And I do have to give a shout out to Austin Reeves. Every time I look at Austin Reeves' stats, I go and double check Austin Reeves' stats. It's averaging 20, 4.5, and 6. And this is a kid coming out of Oklahoma a couple years ago who
Austin Reeves is who everyone thinks Tyler Hero is. When I was making, like when we were making that trade, I was like Connect, I was like, I'd trade Reeves over Connect. They got to keep them both, which is good. And Reeves has been able to fill that void, that 1-2 punch. And when Luka's off or LeBron's off or whatever, Reeves is stepping in. And you have Connect filling that. You have two people in that role. So, I mean, it's JJ, it's so funny. Everybody was like, he's too young. He's never coached before. I'm like, the dude, all he ever did in his life is freaking play basketball. Like the dude grew up dribbling. Like he was like, came out, I got a basketball, I'm going to dribble. Like that's all he's done. So it's like if you wanted him to do the grind of go up through the ladder and all that other stuff, yeah, that's your personal vendetta, about what happened to you as your plight in life.
Yeah.
But, what he's done is look at it. He took a team that last year was, you had AD, you had LeBron, you had a good staff. That's supposed to be a championship contending team. It wasn't. And at no point last year were you like, oh, these dudes are going to win it. You know what I mean? But he took this team, put in a very simple, basic system, and he's at an age and a position to where he can actually talk and relate the knowledge he knows directly to them in a way that's not like, I'm your boss, So it's just like I hope other teams go this route. I think they'd find very good results. Like Denver. If I was Denver, I'd get Hakeem Olajuwon to be my head coach. Sit there, Hakeem. hang out with Joker, teach him some footwork. You know, that's all you need to do. Or you saw it with like another Colorado, Jamal Mosley. He's a guy who started at the bottom, grind himself up, and look what he did with the Magic. So there is talent, and when they get these hyper promotions, the criticism, yeah, but when they succeed, give them their flowers as well.
No, that's a great point, because I think you're kind of conditioned by the normal coaching cycle of the league to expect just the familiar faces to keep popping back up, like the retread coaches. They just, all right, he coached here and he was okay. So, but he did get fired. So we're just going to hire him over here. And it makes you think that that's wrong. And I was curious to see how the JJ thing would work out, and whether it was like a LeBron legacy play, if he just wanted to pick someone who wouldn't push him for the last couple of years and he was just kind of ride off into the sunset, or if he wanted to compete for a title. Dude wants to compete for a title. And back to Connect and Reeves, not just because they're white, but the playing style, probably the best coach they could have for them.
JJ. Oh my gosh. I can tell JJ is getting into Reeves, because there are times when like Reeves will do something and look right at JJ. You know what I mean? But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's kind of how Kerr and Curry are, or were, especially in the beginning. Kerr was one of the greatest point guards in the league when he played. So anything he says is good. JJ wasn't one of the greatest point guards in the league. You can't give him that title. But I would give his IQ to be one of the highest to be in the league. Like I said, the dude, I still remember playing AAU with the dude. Like, he's like 15 playing with 17s. I was 16 playing with 17. He's 15 playing with 17. He couldn't even, he was shorter, but like this kid's out here killing, I mean, it's just, he was always a good player. And the thing about JJ was he was always a system. He knew, I'm not going to go out here and win you this game on myself, but if we set our picks and do the system right, perfect Duke grad, perfect. You know what I mean? It's, he's like Krzyzewski Jr. Well, who's the dude who was it Wojo? Wojo. You look at like a Wojo type, like that's the type of energy JJ has.
Yeah, that's a great point too. How this is a guy whose success came from the system versus his own athletic gifts. So he understands the importance of, we have to run an actual offense, and it doesn't have to be a complicated, complex thing. In fact, probably better if it's not, but we got to have something so we can generate easy buckets for everybody. So no, they are a title contender to me. Just incredible season for the Lakers. Cannot believe any of it that's really happened. Still feels like I've hallucinated it. You talked about Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. Steve Kerr, Steph Curry. So let's talk about the Warriors a little bit. They got a huge showdown today with the Clippers.
Yep.
You were very high on the Jimmy Butler trade, and guess what? You were right. So what was it that you saw then, and what are you seeing now that's made them basically like one of the hottest teams in the league since that happened?
What I saw then was Jimmy's body of work. You look at him, I think it was a 22, but they lose Tyler Hero, their alleged second best player, going into the playoffs as like the 10th seed, and they go to the finals. And they went to the finals with Jimmy Butler and a bunch of second round picks. It's that type of grit, it fit perfectly within the system of Golden State. Like we were talking about the whole vet thing before. Think about it. In Minnesota, Jimmy's problem was there were a bunch of people who were superstars, but they were all the same age. Same thing in Philly. Then he goes to Heat, and he's the dude. And he saw what he did with being the dude. And now he gets a chance to be the dude in a time frame in which he can physically at his age still be the dude and hyper efficiently. If you have no offensive talent, just go to Golden State. I'm not saying Jimmy doesn't, but you look at him. If I would give the ball to Jimmy Butler for my last shot before I gave it to LeBron, because Jimmy's going to get a bucket. And if
Yeah.
Jimmy's shooting 7% from behind the arc for the season and they all need a 3 in that moment, Jimmy's going to get that bucket. Like every time he shoots, it's 100% chance, no matter what percentage he's at. Just a great player. And then it helped Draymond tremendously. Draymond doesn't have to be the only bulldog out there. The way Jimmy plays, it's grit and grind. The dude plays like a center, basically. I mean, I would say if you look at Jimmy's stats and you look at like Embiid's stats, or like one of the 3-point shooting centers, if you looked at the numbers, you'd think Embiid's stats are Jimmy's and Jimmy's stats are Embiid's, other than like the rebounds. But at the same time, his presence on the defensive end. I mean, it's everywhere. He is that player that is all around, but has A- all around, except for 3-point shooting. That's a C. That is 100% a C. But you don't have to be. That's the thing. Like Wiggins, think about it. Andrew Wiggins coming from Cleveland and all that other stuff. He can't shoot. He didn't have to there, and he ended up shooting better because he didn't have to shoot. Jimmy's shots are going to be in rhythm, wide open. He doesn't have to sit up there and create. He has Steph. And we were talking about earlier about Clay. Oh man, I feel so sorry for that dude.
Tough break.
So sorry for Clay. Yeah, just think about that.
He was going to be like the piece that put the Mavericks over the top, and now he is basically the piece that they have still with Kyrie getting hurt and Luka.
The only piece.
It's you and no one else. So here you go. No, that's brutal for him, especially all he went through to come back. I'm just looking. The Warriors have a chance today to make the playoffs outright. And then February 6th was the trade deadline. They were tied for 10th.
So the Warriors, in my opinion, because of how the West moved, if the Warriors would have stayed on that same plateau, there's no way they would have been 10th. They wouldn't have. Yeah. They would not have been 10th. Like the West has been so unpredictable. Yeah. I don't know what team Minnesota shows up with. I don't know if Houston realizes that they're good yet. I don't know if OKC has the 7 game in them. There are these questions I can answer. My biggest thing, because the big is Denver. You look at that place. Is that an implosion that's happening right now? I mean, look at Aaron Gordon's season. Aaron Gordon is playing on an all-star caliber in this last, call it 2-3 months of this season. Hitting his 3-point shots, playing defense. He's the dude who's got out there every night. He's the grit. He's the grinder. Then you have him next to Joker. I would say the problem is Westbrook, unfortunately, is not reliable. I don't think that was a foul. Honestly, that 3-point in the corner, I do not think that was a foul. He landed next to him. Call. Yeah, I don't think that was a foul, but he should have hit that. He shouldn't have shot that layup, but he should have hit it if he shot it. He could have dribbled it out. You know what I mean? He should have hit it if he shot it, though. That's what it is. And you look at him all season, it's so weird with him. It's like it's in his head. I would say that LA time, West Brick and you suck. It's not easy being a ball dominant person and play with LeBron. Like, well, Luka's doing it. It's a completely different scenario, bud.
Yeah.
It's him, Luka, and what if you had Luka and the alien kid from the Spurs?
Oh yeah, Wemby
on the same team. You know what I mean? Like you're like, well, like you don't know. You don't know who's going to do what. You don't whatever. But when you have Westbrook, what you have is a grinder. You have someone who's going to give you every ounce of energy. He's going to give it all. Being able to, and I would say if you are going to say it's Westbrook's fault, it's because Murray hasn't been healthy and Murray hasn't been playing. Murray, that's Murray's job. That Westbrook, like all these things that's Murray's job. But I would say that's the biggest issue. Like a Murray Dame Lillard trade could be something I could see, or because the Bucks look done, man. They look like they look self-defeated out there.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Westbrook stuff. I've liked the fit with him and Jokic. And he's had a much more efficient shooting season this year. But you do, like you're saying, you run into the end of game stuff where he's easy to guard because he's not a knockdown shooter.
I want you to shoot this three. Yeah.
Yep. And I do think it's still in his head when he's being left wide open, like the Westbrook stuff. And the biggest issue is that, and it's a testament to him that he still remained as effective as he's been. But talking about that layup, 5-7 yeyears ago? That's a dunk.
Yep.
The athleticism just isn't what it is. And he was always a player who you would be like, okay, what happens when this goes? So I think credit to him that he's really played better than I think a lot of people thought he was going to play. But it shows up in the worst moments for him. And you
always in the spotlight. It's always the spotlight. Yeah.
And it always looks terrible when it shows up too. It's never like a subtle thing. It's always like a brutal, brutal thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, like you missed the layup. That's bad. And then you're making a hustle play because that's what he does.
He sprinted out there.
Contest.
Yeah.
Like that's a hell of a play. And then you get a foul call, which I agree. I don't think that was a foul. But it's just one of those things where it's like, well, it was Westbrook. So, of course, it can't just be a missed layup. It's got to be a missed layup and a foul and the game's over.
It has to be a
terrible luck. Like, someone's got a voodoo doll on him, man. Like, damn.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And then they just fired Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, their coach and GM. That's the second time that happened because the Grizzlies did it with Taylor Jenkins. Can you what's going on? I don't remember a time when like teams
Memphis need Mark Jackson. The Memphis Ja needs to be around Mark Jackson. Ja needs to be around Mark Jackson. I think the grenade throws, I think that's hilarious, but at the same time, he is putting kids' lives at risk because when you look at who people imitate the most, it is Ja. Ja has that AI connection to the youth. And, at the same time, he has like I said, if the NBA makes a rule you can't do gun salutes, they should make a rule that you can't call Austin Reeves AR-15 as well. No one has an issue with that, So it's just like, I just make the rule NBA, let the dude, but Ja needs to be around Mark Jackson. He truly needs to be around Mark Jackson. That is the man that Ja needs to hear words from. Because Mark's going to be Mark respects his talent, but Mark's going to make you see Jesus. Like he's going to talk to you about the right way to live. He's going to have those conversations with him. And Mark's on the level like a Steve Kerr, where you can't sit here and be like, man, what is this dude? You know what I mean? Like he's on that level. So John needs to be around Mark Jackson. The current staff, I would say that was one of those situations very similar to that Golden State where Mark Jackson left. They need something else because they have a very talented squad. They're too big. Edie and Jackson can be on the court at the same time. You have Bane and Ja, and then you just add in a bomber that just sits in the corner. You could beat any one of these teams over a 7-game grind because they won't be able to. They won't want to play because you can just go physical. That's why I think Cleveland is going to get it. It's going to be Cleveland has 2 really good bigs. Boston has no bigs, but they're all big. You know what I mean? You can't call Porzingis a center. I'm sorry. He does stand in the lane, but like that. That's where I feel, with the regards of this situation where it's going to be good for Memphis. I don't think this is good for Denver. I think getting rid of Calvin may have been good because his draft choices over these last couple of years have been really bad. But also, you can't really draft with a coach that is kind of like who's the dude with the Knicks? Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Tib could have drafted Michael Jordan and been like, "No, you're not playing. Sorry, nope." Sorry. No, I mean, and honestly, I feel Thibodeau's success has been letting go of that a bit. Because when you look at like how that team, it's completely reformed. Randall's gone, Barrett's up in Toronto, but like the Harts, those people, those are the players that Thibodeau would have in the past been like, no, let's get some more vets. No, let's get some more vets. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at what Denver needs, they need a coach that can develop as well. Because I don't think Michael Porter Jr.'s gotten any better in like 5 years, has he?
No, he's the same dude. Like he's going to shoot it. He's not going to pass it. He's not.
It's a weird shot too. I think it looks beautiful, but then it doesn't. It's like you're like,
I don't understand it. While we're talking about them, so Jokic becomes the third player ever, along with Westbrook and Oscar Robertson, to average a triple-double.
Yeah.
The first center ever to do it.
I thought Wilt did it.
No, Wilt didn't do it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I thought he did it with assists, too. Because he had a year like, I'm just going to pass because I want to pass.
He did lead the league in assists one year, but it wasn't double digits. I think it was like upper 8, maybe touching on 9. So is that a sign of somehow Jokic has gotten better, or is it more of a sign of we have not surrounded him with players who are good, so now he has to do more? Kind of speaking to that Calvin Booth point where this is a different team than the team that won the title. Yeah.
You didn't keep anybody.
No. No. Like ACP, gone. Bruce Brown, gone. And some of that is guys played well, and so they
got their money up.
Yourself out of budget. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But it is on you as a GM to
draft.
Reload.
To draft. That's the thing. Their drafts. I don't want to speak to the players like they suck. They're all good, but their drafts have not worked out for them, and there are other picks available that probably would have worked out. No one's 100%. No one has clairvoyant vision like that, but their draft has been very weak. And at the end of the day, I think if you got rid of one, you'd set a power vacuum that the other one owns that the Cronkies want to fill anyway. So. That move to me was the Memphis move was we're not reaching this team and we have a window. We need someone to reach this team.
Run its course.
The Denver move to me was, in my opinion, like you're wasting Joker's prime, dude. I don't care if he's a rookie. Put him on the damn court if he's going to help Joker win, And I think that whole inability to have that control it was the reason why it's there. But when you look at Joker, that's the way I played in high school. You're the only dude out there. You're just you're doing everything. You're blocking shots. You're doing everything. And for him to do this on the NBA level, the term isn't he's gotten better. He's more efficient. I would say his conditioning's gotten better over the course of the season. You look at his body. When he first came in, he was skinny but fat when he first came in. Now he has like that old man mass, like he's been out like swinging some fucking swinging some lumber. Like he's like I said, he's just more efficient. And like at the end of the day, when you look at his arms after the game. It is just like someone someone's just trying to like he's been attacked, and like that's him out there that night for 2 overtimes. Like, I mean, that dude. I wish Embiid had that level of like durability that he had, because I think Embiid's a better overall player than Joker. I think, but with Joker's endurance, it makes him the better player. He's a tank. He's literally a tank.
I think that he's never going to be a guy with his body type who's going to warm up shirtless like LeBron the other night, and that's for everyone's benefit.
But why not? Let's embrace every body type.
But body positivity. I'm here for it. Trust me. The way that I've been eating lately, I'm definitely here for it. But you can tell just by the way he plays, like you're saying, this dude can play 1,000,000 minutes a night. The 60-point game with the Westbrook thing, he had played forever that
The entire
night.
second half and like
Ridiculous.
the entire
Someone get this dude some help. And just to kind of finish off the Booth Malone firing stuff, it does kind of look like ownership looked at the both of them and were like, okay, I can't tell if you're terrible at drafting or you're terrible at playing rookies. So both of y'all just get on. And
that's the thing, though. If you just got rid of Booth and kept Malone, you know what I mean? You're still not going to have that pipeline and that power that the one and the new guy coming in, he's going to be basically like number 3. You know, so. Yeah, I'm sorry for cutting in. But,
no, you're good. No, you're right. I think it had to be done just for the Game of Thrones power struggle reason. I completely agree. And then going back to Memphis to kind of focus on them some more, the Ja stuff with the gun celebration. I get the context of the gun celebration, and you definitely can't do the gun thing after you're warned not to do the gun thing, especially not the same day you were warned not to do the gun thing. The grenade thing is hilarious to me because, especially, did you hear his explanation?
I would say that they're throwing hate at me, so I'm throwing hate back, but I haven't heard it.
He said it was not a grenade. You're pretty close. He said he was just throwing words out and blocking out the noise. That's what he said he was doing. Which is hilarious. And you're right. I do believe he needs more guidance because I think he gets too caught up in being defiant. And it's like...
It's youth. It's youth, you know? That's why I'm saying Mark Jackson would be the perfect coach for him. And he would be really good for that team. Mark Jackson loves bigs. Mark Jackson develops guards. Like, he would fit in very well with the makeup of that current team. My favorite players are bigs because I'm biased. But like if I see Ja on television, if I see Luka, if I see Ja, and if I see Ant, I stop and I watch that game.
Yeah. So between the two, with these interim coaches, I guess, the Nuggets and the Grizzlies, who do you like better in the playoffs? Who has a better chance of overcoming everything?
Nuggets, of course, because of the maturity. The Grizzlies, like honestly, maybe the assistant coach, because sometimes it's happened, has connected with the team more. You know, you basically look at Vogel when he took over the Pacers. Maybe that could be the case. I don't suspect it. But if you're gonna say let's bet some money on who goes the furthest, I'd bet on not even that they're the higher seed only, but they're just the better team.
Yeah, and you would take the team with Jokic on it too. I think that's probably
just give him the ball. Just give him the ball. Just give him the
ball. We haven't even really talked about the Thunder. So what's the deal with the Thunder? What is the deal with them? Back-to-back number 1 seeds. They were knocking on the door of 70 wins. It seems like no one believes in them. Why don't we believe in them?
It's very similar to that first iteration of the KD, Westbrook, Harden. They had to make that run to the playoffs. And honestly, LeBron fouled KD on that shot. But they had to make that run for people to be like, oh, these guys aren't just a flash in the pan. They're not just going to get blown. So that team, people thought that team was going to get blown up way later. That like they're just going to they're OKC. They're going to go over the but them sticking around that core, that's what developed it. And they have that again. I think that they need to. They haven't proven themselves in the playoffs on any level. Shea's getting award consideration. I would say, honestly, Shea had it until Joker was like, you know what, let's just play some more basketball and see what happens. There are a bunch of young kids, very similar to Houston, in my opinion, that are all still seeking an identity. So, the media doesn't know how to cast them. They don't know how they're going to respond in these situations. They showed it last year, and they kind of choked. Like I said, all year, the narrative isn't them and they're the best team in the league. All year, the narrative really isn't in Cleveland. They're one of the best teams in the league. I would say Donovan Mitchell is probably one of the best playoff players in the world. Like the stuff he was doing in Utah, I think he averaged like 30-something points a game in his career there.
Oh my gosh,
in the
the
playoffs.
bubble playoff run he had where he was dropping 50 multiple times in a series against the Nuggets, I believe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Disgusting. It's like what is going on? I think you're right. I think a lot of it is the media likes to be able to tell a story.
And who are you going to tell a story about on that? Yeah,
yeah. Like Shea, like he wears interesting clothes, but you don't really know a lot about him.
Yeah,
you see him and Chet in the commercials together, but you don't really know. There's nothing super charismatic about them, I don't think.
Well, even look at their post-game interviews. Normally, it's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
They
it's
all
always
show up.
It's a group. You know what I mean? But Shea's the star. He's the most talented player on that team. Yeah, but if you took off their non-stars, Shea ain't nothing. Like he ain't doing the same things out there. Their role players fill their roles very well. Chet's supposed to be a superstar like Wemby, right? He's not, and then that's the thing, and that's part of it. People won't want to be negative towards Chet like that, and so if Chet proves himself, gets a ring, all this other stuff, that's how he gets the role, because he's not going to go out there and be like a Wemby. So like I said, they're just still trying to cast them. I'd say this very similar with Houston. I would say the king of this is Pistons with Cade. For 5 years, this guy's a bust. This guy's a bust. This dude took a team of nobodies to the playoffs this year. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he has that Jimmy in him right now. It's crazy. He's not the MJ. It's that Jimmy. He's
standard.
He's doing everything out there.
Yeah.
He's doing absolutely everything out there. And you got to look at his team. Jaden Ivey's been hurt all year. I couldn't even really name another player like offhand. I know what they look like. If I saw them, I'm like, oh, that guy's on the Pistons. But like, I couldn't give you their name. And he took a team to the playoffs. It's interesting. The East is. We were talking about earlier. The Bulls. Where did they come from? They got rid of Levine and got better.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that. And my mind's going back to Shea again. So we're talking about, this is what happened. This is how my mind works, just to let everybody know. We're talking about the Rockets. We're talking about the OKC, the Durant OKC team. Talking about Shea wearing interesting clothes, but you don't really know a lot about him. A guy who was on those OG OKC teams, who ended up playing for the Rockets, who seemed more interested in being kind of like a fashion icon, but you didn't know a lot about him. Also shot a lot of free throws like Shea. James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the parallels between those two in terms of also guys who rely on free throws, whether or not you think they're flopping or whatever? They tend to struggle in the postseason when the whistles aren't as frequent.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. When you look at shit, like when I look at teams, I always look at how many free throws they hit. When you have teams winning, hitting 7, 8, 9 free throws, you're like, man, they killed them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Then you'll see a game, they hit like 25 free throws. You're like, man, you don't know what happened there. But like, those are one of the stats I always look at, when I'm evaluating, teams, like how they're doing, how they're playing. And, you're talking about James. It's insane to me. I get him and Maxey. Maxey looks like the right-hand version of James Harden. Like legitimately, like to me, like when I look, because he played for the Sixers. I look at him like, man, was that a right? He's not on the Sixers anymore. That's not James Harden. That's Maxey. But very similar play style between the two. I would say James the way better long range shooter.
Yes,
and that gets him that first step to get by you, to get all Knobble. Shea is kind of like people talk about him. Tim Duncan. Remember the jab step, and then if you're there, I'm gonna, so Tim kind of like that's kind of how Shea gets his contacts. He can initiate, but he gets them too. I would say that Shea's contacts are a bit more genuine because he's going to the rim James
Yeah.
would like grab someone's hand and like purposely like fall like.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was crazy. The stuff he would come up with to do to get a foul call. I was like, how is it? I had to explain how my mind worked just to make the connection between the two. I don't know how his mind worked to even come up with drawing fouls the way he would draw fouls. The shit was ridiculous. And I was like, okay, man, someone calm down. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking. Looks like Shea, leads the league in 7.9 free throws made per game, 8.8 attempts. And
so,
I don't know.
and the thing is, most foul you can't call, but you can call foul on every play, right? You can call foul on every play. So you'd almost have to call those things 50-50s. You know, there's some where you might get out. You know, there's some that's a foul. You know, but at the same time, like 4 or 5 of those shots at the line that he's hitting are probably generated. You know, and then when you take his point per game down 4 or 5 points, you need to look at the outcome. It's not only him not getting to the line; it's the other people on the team not getting to the line. So, like I said, free throws are huge. They're a big measure to like. Can this team sustain? Like if they're hitting 15, 16 free throws a game, there's a risk there. You know, and they're hitting like with the Pacers. Pacers cannot make a free throw and still be a good offensive team. I don't get that that juggernaut that they're throwing out there right now. You know, no one's in the top 10 of scoring. You know, but like they're like 3rd, 4th in the league in offensive. So I mean, it's like I said, like when you have like I said, the free throw disparity is one of the main things I look at, especially going into the playoffs, because like you said, the whistle gets tighter. Those iffy ones, you know, if you got 5 of them a game, you might get 2. And the ones that you're definitely get, if you got 4 of them a game, you might get 3, you know, because there are times where you get killed in the playoffs. They don't call nothing.
Doesn't matter. Now, just really weird because I'm looking up the advanced stats too, like their 3rd in offensive rating, 1st in defensive rating,
Pacers.
and the Thunder.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I just can't wrap my head around a team can be this good on paper, and when you watch them too. And we're just all going to have to see it to believe it is what it feels like. But that's how the league has always been. So
and that's the thing. We were just in Final Four. You know, that team, if this was a Final Four format, one game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that team is dangerous. Over 7 games, that's what people don't get. Like when it gets to 2-1, right? You know, 2-1, you have a team coming out there that's basically you're at win or go home right now. You know, you have another team that's, if we don't win, it's tied. We got to start all over. Like these sub motivations cause these games to be completely different games, lower scoring. All like that's the thing about the playoffs. Nobody's trying to put up 1,000 points. I want to win by 1 point. I want to win by 1 point. That's what I want to win by, because I got to see you tomorrow. I don't want to show you all my tricks. I don't want to go, you know, like, because that's you saw it with the OKC Golden State 3-1. They figured out all their tricks. Game over.
Yeah,
you know,
there's only so many adjustments you can make at the end of the day, and it is what it is.
You have matchups tonight that you're going to have teams not playing their starters because they're playing each other for the playing game.
Yeah,
you know,
trying to hold some stuff close to the vest.
Yeah.
So
I'm not showing you my tricks.
No, man, that's great. And we do have to talk about the 2nd seed, another seed in the West that I think that people aren't taking seriously because of their youth. The Rockets. Realistically, how much noise can they make? Because I'm right there with the crowd in like, okay, man, I don't think this is a team built for a Western Conference Finals run. Is that something they could conceivably pull off? I mean, they've all had fantastic seasons. Amen Thompson has burst onto the scene. Like, that kid is ridiculous. But then I look at other pieces and I'm like, I don't know about that.
I would say that the Houston Rockets are what Charlotte wanted to be with their draft choices a bit. Very, very flashy. They have no core identity, way less than OKC. In a 7-game series, they're going to collapse. I don't know who they're slated to play. If they play an older veteran team that's banged up, they're going to give them problems. But over 7, I don't see them getting out past the Nuggets. I don't see them getting out past I don't see them getting out past Golden State. I don't see them getting out past. They could get the Lakers. They could get the Clippers. They could get the Clippers. Yeah. They could get the Clippers. I don't see them getting past. I could see them in OKC matching up very well because those kids used to play AAU next to each other. It's a bit of rivalries there. But that team, like I said, it just has no identity. Even when you look at their bets, like when their spreads, like they'll be favored by 40 and lose by 20, and then under by 10 and lose by 8 and win by 80. It's just like they're just very inconsistent.
Yeah, I think the thing that I do with them is that everyone on their roster at this point is like a poor man's version of XYZ. Like they don't have the guy who you would want, who would be like the primary player you would want for that position or for their role. It's always like, well, Şengün's the poor man's Jokic, or like,
he's good though.
Yeah, like, he's really good. He's a great player, but it's like, okay, that's not quite a team that is going to make me super confident heading into this. So yeah, I don't see them making a deep run, except you're right. If they get an older team with some legs like the Clippers, who I don't know how Ty Lue keeps pulling this off with the Clippers. That guy,
I would say he's a good choice for Ja as well, but he's locked in.
Yeah.
Maybe a trade to get him there or something, but like
something, because that guy every year, doesn't matter how hurt the Clippers get, he's gonna figure out a way to win 45 plus games.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like you said, Kawhi, trade Kawhi for Ja.
Yeah, just do something. Trade
Kawhi for Ja.
Ty Lue some help. I'm begging y'all to get Ty Lue some help. He's got Harden, who is not even shooting 41% from the field on the season, below 35% from 3. The leading scorer on that team is Norman Powell. No, well, I guess it's Harden now, but Norman Powell, who got snubbed for the All-Star game, he's had an incredible season, but holy shit, like when I look at this roster, I'm trying to figure out how he does it. Zubac, incredible season.
Oh, yeah.
Get Ty Lue some help, please. That's my one plea for the Clippers. I'm going to look at some of the –
please, get some help.
Some of the play-in teams, the bottom of the postseason teams. Do you see any teams making noise from the Kings, Mavs, Timberwolves that we should really spend too much time on, or just move on to the East?
Oh my gosh.
The T-Wolves have been playing a little bit better, but
that's the problem with yes, they're a team. Losing Karl Anthony Towns and Randall's always been kind of a black hole. But I think he's kind of finding himself, which you should expect, but it shouldn't have taken all year.
No, good Lord. Yeah.
But if Randall finds himself and he's in a role, dude, Anthony Edwards is like the closest thing we got to Jordan right now, in the regards of just amazing.
Athletic freak, just
amazing.
Almost 40% from 3 this year too.
And I remember that he was dunking on people. His layups he's been doing lately are just the king. The play of the year is the Ja layup. That is the play of the year.
Oh yeah, that was insane.
That and Saquon Barkley jumping over the dude backwards. Those two plays were things I'm like, I've never seen this before. All in one season, all in 1 year. It was awesome. But like the big part of when you look at those other teams, like I said, the Kings. I would say the Levine trade with the Kings and Fox. That whole trade. I think it was net neutral for the Kings.
Yeah.
They really didn't gain much. You're talking about a team that has no identity. That's definitely the Kings. So I wouldn't say much about those other ones right now.
Yeah, and like you said, the Mavs are just looking to go home and disappear.
They want to go home. They need to go home and just get in the cave and let next season start. The first thing they want to talk about is we're drafting this guy. That's the next thing you want to hear from the Mavs.
Yeah. So okay, moving to the East, we talked a little bit about the Cavs a surprise number 1 seed this year, I would say. I mean, a huge leap with just Kenny Atkinson coming aboard. And it's not like JB Bickerstaff was a bad coach, but I think he kind of fit that mold that you were talking about earlier, where sometimes a coach they just run their course with a team.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in Bickerstaff, and they've already won. They still have 1 game left, but they've won 16 more games than they did last season. The offense has been unreal. It was 20th. They were 20th in points per game last season. They are currently first.
Wow.
And they've maintained defensively their place from last year too. So increasing your offense that much while still being able to defend, pretty good recipe for success. But
I mean, Mobley's production, I think, was the biggest part of this, being that big three, that third one filling in the role. I was more surprised that the Celtics didn't take the first seed. But then when you look at the makeup of the Cavs, you're like, yeah, these guys are good. You have Mitchell, you have all these players, you have all these people. Like I said, in the East, it's pretty set. If one of those two teams don't make it to the Eastern represent the East in the finals, you have one of the greatest Cinderella playoff stories to ever unfold. But when you look down the East, it's kind of like I think it's very straightforward in the East. A lot of teams like a Houston in the East with the Magic. You have a team like, or you want to take the Eastern Conference version, would be Denver and Milwaukee would be very, very paralleled right now. Former champions just completely cratering and falling and imploding a bit. So you have like a very similar storyline left to right, but what you don't have in the East is the top team not being, well, you could call the Cavs unestablished, but I think they have a bit more of a identity than Oklahoma City. But you could almost call the Cavs a bit unestablished in that regard. The Lakers of the West would be like the Celtics, two phenomenal players, around now, really, really good role players. The makeups are very similar, but when you get just the Pacers, wild card. Are they going to score 700 points or Pistons? If Cade Cunningham isn't playing well, they're not going to win. Very, very one dimensional. So it's just like in the West, you got to like scout those teams. In the East, it like you have a superstar, and then it's like very one dimensional. It's like the Magic. The Magic to me is one of the best teams full of role players I've ever seen in my life. There's no really standout. Everyone does their job really well. That's the type of team that could surprise in the playoffs. But I don't really see many shocks coming out of the East. I think it'll be very straightforward.
Yeah, I guess the big thing for me is now with the Celtics. First of all, we are just bored of them being good. I think we're tired of seeing this team because we've been watching them for so long. It's like, again. And also with the news of Jaylen Brown's knee giving him trouble. Clearly, if there's anything medical science has available, or even the dark arts, I'm sure they'll figure something out to get him ready to play in the postseason.
Yeah.
But I do think for as crucial as he is to their success, that's something to keep an eye on. But it did kind of seem even this season like maybe they were a little bored of their success too. Like they were just kind of looking to make it to the postseason. Now that you win the title. And so I think there's a little bit of like you can breathe, you can exhale, and there's not as much pressure to prove yourself over the course of the regular season, like a team like OKC or Cleveland this year might feel. And
I would say that Tatum kind of had the pressure to prove he's the dude.
Yeah,
you look at his usage in the USA game, and then like even last year, he wasn't the conference final MVP, nor was he the finals MVP.
Yeah.
I would say, and I think he kind of stepped up to it felt like Tatum carried him, and then, like Brown carried him, and then Tatum kind of like filled the gaps, and he was just like got the stardom. And I think this year it's been a very equal load split. And like I said, with Brown's injury and they're still doing well, I think Tatum stepped up to that role. Because everyone thought that you were just going to hand him. He has the look, he has the skill set. You're just going to hand him that crown. But Jaylen Brown, man, he's another dude that doesn't get his flowers. You can argue he's top 5 in the league. But you won't, because he's not. His name's not LeBron. His name's not Luka. His name, you know what I mean. But you can make these arguments. I mean, people would probably argue Tatum's better than him.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah,
we got our F1 start.
Oh, okay. Kicking off. See, I told y'all, this came together so quick, and we're pulling it off so well. So you're welcome, everybody. Who else was I looking at in the East? So the Knicks, 3rd seed. Looks like they're locked into the 3rd seed.
Mm-hmm. They're scary.
Does that feel like a disappointment to you?
No, because they needed that. They needed that year to gel with Cat in, and then you look at that ankle injury by Brunson at the end of the year. In those games Brunson got injured, and that boy played. He played Jimmy hard, like he played stupid hard, and that's the thing. Him coming back healthy, if he's healthy, that's a very scary team. Cat's filled into that team very, very well. Heading into next year, if this season doesn't go too well, they keep that core around. I think you could put them right back top 1, 2, 3 in the East, championship contention. But it's all about Brunson being healthy. That was definitely proven. With that injury, and you look at Brunson's season, you look like he has an off year. But I would say this is one of the best years he's kind of had all around, because he's integrated Cat in. He's done more, with the other people around him. But the Knicks, they're kind of like, yay, they can do it, But I don't think that they're going to get past the Cavs or the Celtics in a 7-game series.
I don't either. I do think that I was shocked at how well Cat fit in, because that dude has had an incredible season. I think he's cut down on some of those threes that I was like, oh, man, you're 7 feet tall. Like, I get that you can shoot threes, but did we really need a 3 right there? I do wonder if part of that was he doesn't have Rudy Gobert down there kind of clogging the paint. And just overall, Cat is a better fit for this team than we just talked about Julius Randle. It is just night and day. I guess the guy who hasn't fit as well as I thought was Mikal Bridges.
He had his flashes, but I thought he would be way more consistent.
I thought it would be a little bit more seamless, but that hasn't happened. But again, this has kind of been an underlying theme of all of this. There's this thought that everything is going to be instant in terms of you put a team together and they will instantly figure things out. And that has never, ever, ever been the case, ever. So
even with the big 3, that first year.
It took them a whole year, and they lost to a team led by J.J. Barea and Dirk. So no, it's just never happened. So I do think patience is needed, but I think that patience for Knicks fans is going to take them into next year, like you were saying. And I don't know how happy they're going to be about that, because I'm sure everyone's thinking we got a chance this year, but I don't think they're better. If Jaylen Brown's healthy, I don't think they're better than the Celtics at all. Even if he's not healthy, I still might put my money on the Celtics. And then the Knicks, they don't really have – you got Cat, who has played bigger this year, like I was saying. But as far as like anyone else to handle dirty work down there with him, outside of 6'5" Josh Hart, with Mitchell Robinson, I believe he's finally back, but he's just been in and out of the lineup with his ankle stuff. You run up against a team with an Evan Mobley, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and they got Jarrett Allen too with Cleveland. I don't know what they do. Mobley's been so much better offensively too, like we were talking about. So I do think that the East is just looking very predictable right now. The Pacers, again,
they're a wild card. The Pacers are definitely a wild card.
They had that run last year to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, they're definitely a wild card. The Magic, in my opinion, are a wild card. But like I said, if a healthy Celtics makes the finals or a healthy Cavs makes the finals, I don't really see even that Cinderella story kind of going all the way to the ball.
No.
There's always going to be surprises, but at the same time, the East, in my opinion, to me, the scariest team in the East right now are the Bulls. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what Josh Giddey has been doing in these last couple of months. I don't know if he sold his soul to the devil. I don't know if I don't know what's happened, but he has transformed back into that guy when he was at OKC. People were saying, "Oh, this dude's the best. Oh, he can be this." Good player, a good team right now. And that's a weird thing. I always thought Levine was a really big piece of their success. But I would say, the problem going into next year is you have a healthy De'Aaron Fox and you have a Wemby back. That's a very, very scary duo. That is a very scary duo. And then you have what is Giannis going to do? He does not look happy.
No. So that pairing, well, we're 2 years into that one now. Him and Dame, and now they got Doc Rivers coaching.
Yeah.
Brother, they got a mess over there, it feels like.
Yeah, Giannis doesn't look happy. But can you integrate Giannis on a team you couldn't integrate Giannis like Jimmy integrated into Golden State. Correct. You couldn't integrate Giannis like Luka integrated into the Lakers. So Giannis is kind of like an anomaly. And so he might be trapped in that regard because his destination was a Knicks team that sucked. Like an Amari Stoudemire type, you know what I mean? And now the Knicks don't need him, I could see him going to Miami, something like that, because Miami needs a player like a Giannis. They need that. I can see something like that. But at the same time, I thought that pairing was going to do dangerous things in the East.
It seemed like it was. It just never panned out, at least not yet. And those guys are both getting up in age. To your Josh Giddey point, post All-Star break, 19 games, shooting 50% from the field, 46% from three, averaging 21, 11, and 9. So
and probably up there in steals too, because he almost had a quintuple double with steals one game.
He's increased it. You're right. Someone needs to investigate this because this is out of control, man.
Balco Labs.
Something's going on.
No, I said, he's transformed, and that team is kind of transformed around him. We were talking about that sequence, him hitting that half court shot. But you got to see before that he was grinding, keeping them in. Casey gets fouled going to the rim. Who found Kobe for that shot? And then it was like they came down and hit that shot. Dude didn't even have a look of all right, let's get the ball and say, let's get a half court shot in here, mate. And just took it down.
No, that is unreal. Yeah, let me find the near quintuple double. So 15 points, 10 rebounds, 17 assists, and 8 steals.
8 steals, yeah. Quintuple. Almost a quintuple up.
Just ridiculous. Yeah, there's just not too much to say about the East that we haven't talked about already. I mean, we talked about the Pistons, huge jump. Cade looks incredible, but you're not really expecting a ton of them in the playoffs. Very funny. They are kind of like the Rockets of the East, except they didn't finish quite as high, but they do have a Thompson twin. So
yeah.
Then the play-in teams, a lot of the outside of the Bulls, who we've talked about, and the Magic could make some noise, but then you got the Hawks, who I think that's that for them. Although Dyson Daniels, I'll give a shout out to him. Great nickname, the Great Barrier Thief, they call him.
Yeah.
Another Aussie guy. So something's going on down under. So Adam Silver needs to get
something
on that.
in the water.
Yeah, something's up. And then the Heat, who I think are similar to the Mavericks, where they're just looking to get.
I just want to go home.
Just go home.
Yeah.
So shit, I think, is that everything we have to cover?
Man, I think that's all 30. And we got it out before the first game. So
incredible. So that means I've got to hope YouTube cooperates this and with my upload, But as always, I know you always have something nice to plug and promote. So I'm going to clear out and let you plug and promote once again.
Oh, as always, my company, www.tokenhifi.com. Working with Ron Artest and others, putting together a league, basically based upon a bunch of my technology for the tokenomics of like distribution, how media rights, and all this other stuff. But I would say mainly it's just when you look out there, one, tariffs are taxes. I have to say that. And then two, at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's about a world. It's us and them, and we need to define us as all of us, and we need to just work together. And I think that we can find that balance if we can have open, honest discussions with one another.
Boom. I told you, always something nice at the end. So this has been another episode, a special episode just for y'all of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. Appreciate y'all watching, listening, rating, subscribing, reviewing, and sharing. You can find all of David's information in the show notes below. And I will catch y'all later.